Okay, so in this class, we will be studying time-based analysis. Uh, in the dataset, if time is given in the form of year, month, date, what kind of charts we can create? Okay, the first one is Sparklines, second is slope charts, the third is control charts. So all these are the kind of line charts, but drawn in different ways. So let's first start with creating Sparklines. I hope you can see Tableau screen now. I'm going to connect to the dataset. I'm using sales data for this. So you can have a look at the features. We have date in this, and then we have the country, state, product, categories, subcategories, and then we have the measures, right? So we'll be using revenue out of these measures. So what we will be creating here is we will be analyzing revenue of different countries over years, or we can also analyze over months. Okay, so for that we will be creating different line charts in rows. These line charts in the rows are called as sparklines. Okay, and once we draw all those line charts, we will draw a mark at the end of the line. Okay, so let's get started with this. First thing we need is the date. Here we have got 6-year data starting from 2011 up to 2016, and I'm taking this as year only. If you want, you can also perform monthly analysis starting from January to December, how sales changes in the duration of months. Okay, in that case all the year will be considered. If it is January, if I'm taking month in this case, so in this case this will include data for all the Januaries starting from 2011 to 16, all the Februaries starting from 2011 to 16. But let's do the yearly analysis of the sales in different countries. So in the columns we have got year. Next I'm going to drag in country in the rows. So in this data set, it's not very big data set. It has got limited records. So we have got 6 countries data. Next, I'm going to select revenue and put in the rows. Because I told you in Sparklines, we'll be creating series of line chart representing a trend over time. So on the x-axis, we always keep the time in the form of years, right? On the y-axis, we have got a dimension, which I have taken is country. So this is the simple chart right now. What we have done, we have dragged in year. Those who are coming late, we have dragged in year and we have extracted years out of that. Means I've dragged in date and extracted year from that. Then I've selected country in the rows, and in the next we have added sum of revenue. So you can also analyze sum of sales, profit, or some other measures according to the data set, right? So can you see the trend right now? Don't you think that for these countries, for Canada, France, Germany, and United Kingdom, trend is not much clear? However, in case of Australia and United States, we can easily note down the trend, how it's increasing and decreasing. The reason for that is for these countries, revenue is less as compared to Australia and United States. As you can see, the maximum in case of United States is in the numbers of 6, and in here also we have got in the numbers of 5. So here we have got less revenue as compared to those countries, right? So what do we do now? First, we need to check out this axis. So here we have axis ranging from 0 to 6, and that remains same for all. Okay, why don't, if I want to notice the trend for Canada, I don't want to compare this for, but I just want to notice the trend for Canada, so we can maintain the individual axis for Canada. At least trend should be clearly visible, how it's rising and how it's falling. Similarly for France. For that, I'm going to edit the axis, and we are keeping independent axis ranges for each row or column. So as you can see here, in all these sparklines, the trends are now visible and the axis has changed according to the values that we were having in the charts. So for this and this, the axis is same, but for this axis has changed according to the values that we were having in the chart, and the trend is visible. Okay. So first point is done that you all need to note. Okay. Next is we want to add a mark at the end. Means what in this partition, all these are partitions, right? So in this partition, we want to check the value for the last, this is the last record that we have got, right? In year of 2016, and we want to mark it so that we have got marks at the end. Okay, so that would look visually more appealing in this case. How can we do that? For that, we will create a calculated field, and then we will add that to the rows, and then we will be creating a dual axis chart. You need to understand this concept because this similar concept will be used in next charts also. Okay, so let's create a calculated field. So we are going to name this as last revenue. Now here I'm going to use a function last. Now this function means this returns 0 in when the last record is reached. So the meaning is if last equals 0 is we want to reach the last record in a particular partition. Okay. So if the last record means if it is the last record, then we're using Zn. So Zn means this will return 0 if the value is null. Okay, Zn means 0 if the value is null. Next, otherwise, if the value is not null, then what do we want? If there is something, we just want sum of revenue. And when we are using if else and if else, if then else statements, we always write end. Okay, so this requires one more bracket. Now it's done. So I'm going to repeat it again. So this means that we want to reach the last record, because according to the formula, when if the last record returns 0, what we are saying is if this function returns 0, so this means that this is the last record. In that case, what do we want? We want the value if that is not null. If the value is not null, we want to return it. Otherwise, we want to return 0. Okay, so Zn means is a logical function. So this means if it is null, then make it 0. Otherwise, not. Otherwise, this sum of revenue. So I hope this is clear to you. Then apply this and okay. Okay, so next I'm going to drag in this last revenue here in the rows. Now you can see we have got two charts. So one chart is the line chart. The second is just one dot. And this dot is representing the last revenue, means for the last year, for 2016. So this is same. Okay, for all. Now what I want is I want this dot to be over here so that it adds a mark at the end representing the last revenue. So for that, right click here and create a dual axis, as simple as we have already done dual axis charts. Now the dual axis chart is created. Now what's the next step? Who is gonna tell in the chat box? What do we do whenever we create whenever we create dual axis charts? Write in the chat. Synchronize. Good. Yes. Next is we need Sai is asking, ma'am, why we are creating that. Some lag has occurred in the middle. So that's why, because we need to synchronize this axis. So we right click and synchronize axis. Now axis have been synchronized for both the chart, like for we're creating dual axis. So one is line, the other one is dot. So it is synchronized now. So we have got mark at the end. Next, what we can do, we can format this a bit. We can remove this header. So these null values are returned by that function. So we can hide that indicator. If we do not want to check out this axis also, we can go ahead and hide this header as well. Okay, because if you just want to check out the trend, rest is visible from here. So you can use this Sparklines in your dashboard. Okay, so this is the final Sparklines. Anyone's having doubt can ask so that we can continue with the next kind of chart, which is slope chart. Please write in the chat box. Okay, fine. I hope it's clear to all. Basically, this is a line chart only, but in this, what we can do is we can uh, fit in series of line charts in a smaller area. Okay, so we can fit this like this because Sparklines denote just the trend over time. So it's denoting the trend over time. So this can be fit in a dashboard also. Okay, right. So this chart is comparatively bigger. I've seen some dashboards containing more lines, slight lines just denoting the trend for a particular like country. It can be anything. Okay, for companies, for manufacturers, if you want to check the trend. So you can use that when it's difficult to create individual line charts for each and every country. If you just want to notice now how it will happen, it can happen like suppose you have many countries. Suppose I'm dragging in the country here and I'm also dragging in the state and we are making it filled map. Then I'm putting state. Okay. Next, that's fine. Next, suppose I want to analyze product category. Maybe subcategory. Okay, maybe we want to analyze country-wise product category, and here we are finding out the revenue. So this is the bar chart we have got. Okay, next I'm going to put category in color. We can also arrange this, and then So this is a mini dashboard that I'm going to create here. We can drag in the map. We can drag in the bar chart, and we can drag in the sparkline. Sparkline can take smaller area as compared to other. Next, we can apply filter to this chart, and then I'm going to make a selection like this, and then we can check out the trends for those countries only. So this is a line representing the trend for that country. Okay, so here in this selection, Canada and United States has been selected. So we can go ahead and remove this. For this product category, there is no sales in Canada, no revenue in Canada. Is that clear now? This is how you can use sparklines in your chart. Okay, so let's start with the next kind of chart, that is slope chart. Sushmita, which topic you're saying, means from where? These sparklines? Difference between sparkline and line. Basically, these are the line graphs. These are line graphs only. But we are trying to fit rows of line charts in a smaller area. That's it. There is no it's not must to add this mark at the end. You can simply draw a series of line charts. When we draw a line chart is when we have a measure, right, on one axis and dimension on another axis. But when you have date on one axis or time at one axis, okay, so in this case we have taken year. You can take months, you can take quarters, weeks, dates on this axis, and then when you are creating the series of line chart for dimensions, okay, that is called as sparklines. Sparklines. So tiny lines representing trend changing over time. That is called as sparklines. Okay, and you can make it very small and fit in your dashboard. Okay, yes. So let's start with the second chart, which is slope chart. Okay, so for this, I'm using COVID-19 dataset. Okay, so slope chart is a chart where we compare two period of time and we draw in the slopes. Like in the slope chart, we represent ranks on one axis, okay, on y-axis, and then we compare a dimension on the basis of rank, where we find out whether the rank of a particular value in a dimension has increased or decreased. Okay, so let's first connect to the data set. I'm using COVID-19 for this. In this case, we have the data set up to 11th April. Okay, this is the clean data set, right? So for this, because slope chart is also based on time, on x-axis we will be having a measure of time. For this, because COVID-19 dataset is just for 2020, I'm going to analyze between 2 months, February and April. So for the first, I'm going to drag in the date, and from here we will be extracting month. Okay. Next, I'm going to drag in the months in the filter, and I'm going to keep February and April, right? So we have got 2 month data, February and what our main uh, goal here is to find out whether the ranks, the countries who were having maximum number of confirmed cases in February have fallen in the rank in April or not, or the countries who were having lesser rank in terms of confirmed cases in February, whether they have risen in the rank or not. Okay, so we will be analyzing that. I hope the question is clear to you. So we have got February, April. Next is we will be selecting confirmed in the rows. So we have got this slope here. Because it is between two periods of time. So slope chart is created when we have taken two periods, February, April. You can also go ahead and compare 2000 if you have some data set having 20-year data or 30-year data, you can compare in 2000 versus 2005 and so on, right? So this has to be two only then you will be get a slope like this, whether the trend is increasing or the trend is decreasing or the trend is constant. In this case, the trend is increasing. Next, for this we have the total number of confirmed cases right now. We need to add country in the detail because we want to analyze using countries. So all the countries we have got. Next is, in this case, we can see that here on the y-axis, we can see only the confirmed cases. We want to compute the rank. So I'm going to add a quick table calculation, and we're going to add rank. And how do we want to compute rank? Is using country. This is the step I've talked about in my videos also. So is the country. Next is, whenever we are creating slope charts using rank, it may get very much cluttered like it is looking now. So we have to fix this, because here you can see we have got rank up to 180. So we can check for just considering first 20 countries. Okay, so what I've done is I've pressed Control, click and dragged this particular measure in the filters, right? So we have got this chart. Now, next you can see is on this axis, the rank is starting from below, but how it is readable to human eye is we always check rank from the top. So what do we do in this case? It's okay. So we need to reverse the axis. We've also done this in class. So I'm going to edit this axis and we are going to reverse it. Right? Now the topmost country, which is China, in the month of February is at the top, right? And in the month of April, we have got USA. And China has gone down till rank number 6. Okay, so let's format this chart. Next, I'm going to select country and put in the label. Also going to show the label for the top ranked countries. Next, I've selected sum of confirmed cases and put in the label so that we get the rank along with the name of the country. And here I'm going to edit the label. And I'm going to use this rank. Here. Okay, so you can see the rank, country, and once you have the ranks written here, you can go ahead and hide this access, remove this header, and here we can write. So this is what we have analyzed. Was this useful? And is it clear to you? South Korea has gone down at rank number 17 in April, according to this data set. Please write in the chat box. Okay, good. So far we have learned two kind of analysis, two kind of charts. The first one is Sparklines, which is also line chart. So this is also a line chart, but in the slope chart, it's represented in the form of slope. Okay, make sure you always take 2 points of time, like 2 periods of time whenever we are creating the slope chart, so that we can compare. Like you can compare any data, any movies data set for before independence in India and after independence, how number of movies have changed in different languages. So you can make these kind of analysis, or you can also compare the sales before a particular period for a company, for any business. Okay, so if you have any doubt on this, you can ask. I'll also give you questions. Okay, fine. I'll give you questions on the basis of these two topics plus the topic that we will discuss in the next, right? So for that, I will start a new meeting. I've already sent you the meeting ID, right? For the second.